Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm doing another Adamancipator deck profile. So I'm really excited for Adamancipators. This deck is insanely good and has some of the most beautiful artwork of a meta deck in a long time. And I'm really excited to actually show you guys this deck because I have some interesting tech cards in the deck, and I have some interesting tech cards in the extra deck that are really exciting. So without further ado guys, let's get straight on this. Before we do, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next so you can come part of our notification squad, and definitely check out that Patreon down in the description below because we have some awesome rewards for you guys, like getting your name in the description of every single video, getting a signed card sent to the mail, or even getting a requested deck profile just like this one every single month that you are a patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Adamancipator Research or Analyzer. Analyzer is really cool because if you control a monster, if your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and then during your main phase you can excavate the top 5 cards of your deck, and if you do, you special summon 1 excavated level 4 or lower non-tuner rock monster, and also you place a rest on the bottom of your deck in any order, which can help you stack your deck to know what you're not going to get when you activate your next Adamancipator tuner monster's effect. Then we play 3 copies of Adamancipator Researcher. Researcher is really good, but she's really expensive right now, unfortunately, because this deck is a tier 1 to tier 0.5-ish deck because nothing happened on the ban list with it. But if you control rock monster, you can special summon Researcher from your hand. And then she also has the ability that you can excavate the top 5 of your deck, and then special summon 1 excavated non-tuner rock monster from your deck as well, and you place the bottom on your deck in any order. We then play 3 copies of Seeker. Seeker's really good too. They basically all have the same effect, but this one's really good too because if you control an Adamancipator monster, except another Adamancipator Seeker, you can special summon him from your hand, and then during your main phase you excavate the top 5 from your deck, and if you do, you special summon 1 excavated level 4 lower non-rock tuner monster as well. So they all share the excavating 5 effect, which is really cool. But for instance, your opponent has to control a monster, special summon this one, you have to control a rock, or you have to control an Adamancipator, just to keep in mind about these. Now, something I also play in here is a single copy of the blue stone. I just call them blue stone, green stone, and red stone. But what this one does is if this card is special summoned by the effect of an Adamancipator, you get to draw a card, which is good to thin the deck, and also it lets you resolve your other effect of Dragite, which is really good, and a lot of people underestimate that effect of Dragite being able to negate those spells and traps, which is really important if you have that water monster in your graveyard. In your graveyard, you can quick effect negate the activation of a spell or trap your opponent activates, which is good to have that extra negation. We then play a single copy of Raptite. Raptite's really good too. I like playing 1 each of the stones. The deck is so fast as it is, it's not going to hurt to play the stones just to go ahead and give you that play. And you guys know I like playing a little bit more pure when I build my decks, and so I really wanted the aspect of being able to play Raptite with its full effect, and it's really important, its second effect. If this card is special summoned by the effect of an Adamancipator, you can place a rock monster in your hand or graveyard on top of your deck. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can target a synchro wind monster you control in your graveyard and return to the extra deck, and if you place this card on top of your deck. So then you can excavate it and use it again. You usually don't use its effects, you usually just want to get it in the graveyard to resolve its effects. Then I play a single copy of Leonite. Yes, I do play Leonite in the extra deck. It's still to me a good card because it can be a good extender for you, where you can mill cards, or not mill cards, but get cards off the top of your deck to be able to special summon another Adamancipator monster. It's a good card also to use for going into Borreload Savage Dragon, or even all the way up into Satellite Dragon if you have, or not Satellite Dragon, but Satellite Warrior if you need to. This card's really good as well because if this card is special summoned by the effect of an Adamancipator, you can place an Adamancipator card from your hand or graveyard on top of your deck as well. I wish all the stones had the ability that you get to draw a card if you special summon it. It would make them so much better, but I feel like 1, and 1 is fine. At the very least, you can drop these 2 and play 2 hand traps if you want to, but there's plenty of stuff that you can play in the deck, but I really recommend at least playing the blue stone. So that's it for the Adamancipator. For the other cards that I play, I do go with the Dododo engine, which is 3 copies of Dododo Dwarf Go-Go-Go Gloves, or the Go-Go-Go engine. But this card, the deck really go-go-goes. But what this card does is during your main phase, you can special summon a Zubaba Gaga monster in your hand. And if you control a Go-Go-Go or Dododo monster while this card's in your graveyard, you can special summon this card as well, which is really good. You don't play any Zubabas or any Gagagas, you just play Go-Go-Gos, so you don't really get that effect off all that much. We then play 3 copies of Go-Go-Go Gigas. Go-Go-Go Gigas is a really good card because when this card is in your graveyard, if you special summon a Go-Go-Go monster, which you're going to special summon it off of your Adamancipator monsters, you special summon this the gloves from your hand or from the excavated cards, and you have Gigas in the graveyard, then you can special summon the Gigas from your graveyard. But it does make it so you can't conduct your battle phase at turn. But if you're going first and setting board up, it's fine. You're not worried about that. One copy of Go-Go Giga or Go-Go Giant. Giant's really good because when it's normal summon, you can target Go-Go in your graveyard and special summon that target in face of defense, and then you change this card to defense if it attacks, which is not that big of a deal because it's a 2k beat stick, and you're usually just going to use it as a link material. Then we play 2 copies of Block Dragon as well. The Block Dragons are insanely good in here. This card is a card that I'm really surprised didn't actually get banned on the last list, but whatever. But this card is insanely good because what it does is you banish 3 rock monsters from your hand or graveyard, and it can't be special summoned by other ways, and then rock monsters you control cannot be destroyed except by battle. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, this is the busted effect. You get to add up to 3 rock monsters from your deck to your hand, whose total levels equal 8. Wow. Okay, that's a little busted. Let's dissect that effect really quick. That means you could add cards like Doki Doki. You could add your tuner monsters, because these are level 2s. This is level 4. You can add 2 of the tuners and a copy of your Doki Doki. You can add copies of your Quackimero Guardian. You can add anything in the deck as long as it equals 8. So you add 2. You add 2 level 2s and 1 level 4, and you're good to go. This card is probably going to get banned on the next list. Just saying. Beware my prediction. So, that's it for the Go-Go-Go's and the Adamancipators. Let's get into the generic rock support. I just threw this in because this card is insane. But let's go ahead and get into the other cards. So we're going to play 3 copies of Quackimero Guardian. Quackimero Guardian is insanely good in this deck. You need this card as a 3 of. I did drop Quackimero Overload because it's good for negating the summon, but you really want to negate the effects of monsters instead. Because during the end phase, you can send the Quackimero card from your hand or to the graveyard or reveal a rock monster. We're always going to have a rock monster in our hand. We only play 5, we only play 5 spells. We're going to have a rock monster. It's okay. But it has the ability to reveal a rock monster in your hand, and then when an effect is activated, you can quick effect, tribute this card, negate the activation, and destroy it when a monster effect is activated. That's anything. Any monster effect activated. You can just negate it and destroy it. We then play 3 Doki Doki. Doki Doki is really good because it lets you discard a rock and then special summon a rock from your deck. With the same original attribute and level as that monster. The only thing that you have to kind of worry about is the stones, like the green stone is a wind and the red stone is a fire and water stone's water to activate the effects of your Dragite, Raptite, and Leonite. You have to worry about that. So, but other than that, it's not that big of a deal. You can always discard Guardian to summon other things, and it's totally fine. So, then we play a single copy of Gigas. Gigantus is really good because Gigantus lets you banish a rock monster in your graveyard or an earth monster in your graveyard and special summon to side field. If it's destroyed by battle, then you get to destroy all spells and traps on the field, which we only play 5, so what do we care about that? It's just going to negatively affect our opponent usually. We then play a single copy. Now this is really weird for me, but I really like it. I've been seeing a lot of people playing this, and I started playtesting it, and I threw it in here, and I was like, oh, okay, that's what that does. And it's a single copy of Beta the Magnet Warrior. Okay, so you might look at this card and go, why are you playing Beta? So the reason you play Beta is because when you play Beta in this deck, it basically, when your opponent uses like Appaloosa on your opponent's side of the field, it goes in increments of 800. So it's really easy to normal summon out the Beta if your opponent has, like, if they negate your first effect with, like, you special summon out your Analyzer and you have this. You negate the first effect, let the Analyzer go, normal summon out the Beta, swing at your opponent for 1600 or 1700, and it goes over the card by 2 or 100 attack points, which is really nice to get over the Appaloosas that your opponent's going to put on the field to negate your monster effects, because Appaloosa is one of the only cards that actually kind of shuts this deck down, because I've literally played through like 4 or 5 hand traps in a turn with this deck. I mean, or 4 or 5 negates. Like, it's ridiculous how fast this deck works. We then play 3 copies of the Tinny Spirit, Earth Tinny Spirit. This card's really good, and it actually works with Beta, because if you control a non-effect monster, then you can special summon this card from your hand, but if you control a effect monster, you can't special summon this card from your hand. So if you don't control anything, you just special summon this card from your hand, and it's a needle fiber target as well, and it makes it easy to go into Naturia Beast, so I play this card as a 3-up. We play 1 Oleon for the copies of needle fiber, because it makes it easy to link summon in this deck, and the copies of Oleon are just really easy. You just go for this card, and then link it away, or summon the tokens or whatever you need to do. And plus, it's a tuner monster, so it really makes it a lot easier to go in for your synchro plays. Like, you have a Raptite or a Leonite on your side of the field, you can synchro it away for a copy of, like, your Crystal Wing or something like that. Because Crystal Wing just calls for a synchro monster and a tuner monster, so you can use this card to go into Crystal Wing really, really easily. And then finally, 2 copies of Nibiru. The Nibirus really help out because you don't want to deal with your opponent's stuff, and it's searchable, so that's why I'm going to play it as a 2-up. I don't play it as a 3-up because it's searchable with Galliant Granite, and it's really easy to draw into this card. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the 5 spells that we're playing in the deck. So for the 5 spells we're playing in the deck, we are playing a single copy of Foolish Burial, just in case we need to send like a copy of Go 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 Gigas to the graveyard so we can get resolves off, or if, for the weird chance that you actually don't have the card for the Leonite Raptite or Dragite in the graveyard, you can send them to the graveyard to make all of their secondary effects live, which is really nice. Then we play 4 copies of Monster Reborn, which is a single copy of Monster Reborn, and then 3 copies of Adamancipator Sign, which this deck is already fast enough. Why do you need 4 Monster Reborns? Because we can extend. Why not? It lets you target a rock monster in your graveyard and special summon in defense position. Then, if you special summon an Adamancipator, you can take a level 4 lower rock monster in your deck and place it on top of your deck, so you can stack the deck with any Adamancipator you want, or any rock monster you want, so it can grab that card off the top of your deck. That's ridiculous. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're playing a single copy of Dragite. Dragite's really good because what it does is it lets you, during your main phase, excavate the top 5 off your deck, and if you do, you can return cards your opponent controls up to the number of excavated rock monsters, which we only play 5 non-rock monsters in the entire deck, so haha, joke's on you, I'm going to bounce 5 every time. At least 4. Like, the likelihood of me hitting the spells is very, very, very unlikely. So it also has the ability, because you can stack your deck beforehand too. So it also has the ability that if you have a water monster in your graveyard and your opponent activates a spell or trap, you can negate the effect, which is really good to have that additional negate on board. 1 copy of Leonite. Leonite's good to me because during your main phase, you can excavate the top 5 of your deck, and if you do, you get to add an excavated Adamancipator from your deck to your hand that was excavated, which can be one of your tuner monsters to get on your side of the field if you haven't gone into Seeker or Researcher. This card's a good extender, and it's a good card to climb into your copies of Crystal Wing and your copies of Satellite Warrior as well. So I also use this card as a 1-up. It also has the effect of, if there is a fire monster in your graveyard, you can quick effect target a rock monster in your graveyard and special summon it, which can be a good extender as well. Which, if you use, like, for instance, if you go combo and you have Leonite and your copy of Dragite on your side of the field, you can actually synchro away the Dragite for your copy of Crystal Wing, or not Crystal Wing, but for Satellite Warrior, pop cards on your opponent's side of the field, and then use Leonite to bring it back because it's a rock monster, which is really nice. We then play a single copy of Raptite as well. Raptite's super neat because during your main phase, you can excavate the top 5 off your deck, and if you do, you get to special summon 1 excavated rock monster in defense position. It also plays the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. And then during your main phase, or during your opponent's turn, if a wind monster is in your graveyard, you get to target 1 of your opponent's monsters in the graveyard, or 1 card in their graveyard, and banish it, which is super nice to be able to just banish those cards out of your opponent's graveyard. Satellite Warrior, because it can get really big and pop stuff on your opponent's side of the field. If it's Synchro Summon, then you can target cards up to your opponent controls up to the number of Synchro monsters in your graveyard and destroy them. And if you do, it gains 1,000 attack for each card destroyed, which is really good. Crystal Wing, because it's the best level 8 Synchro monster in the entire game, in my opinion, besides like Beals and stuff like that. But Beals you can't make in this deck. And it's extra monster negation. Borreload, because it's easy to make in this deck as well. And plus, you don't have to use a Synchro monster to summon this. Naturia Barkion, because I'm kind of afraid of Altergeist being, somewhere. And I had this card as just a 1-of, just in case. And you can also negate impermanence with this card. So I play it as a 1-of in here, just in case I need it. It's very rare that I summon this card, but it's there just in case if you need it. 1 copy of Nat Beast as well. Nat Beast is really easy. I explained earlier that you can use a level 4 rock monster and the copy of your Tenyi Spirit, because it's a Earth Tuner monster, to go into this card. So it's really easy to summon Naturia Beast. And any deck that's spell heavy, you just drop this card and it's ridiculously good. Herald, because Herald's really easy to go into in this deck as well. You just use like a Doki Doki that you've already used this effect, and 1 of your Researchers or your copies of Researcher or Seeker, the level 2 tuner monsters, to go in this card, or even Oleon. You can use Oleon to go in this card. Formula Synchron as well. I like this card because it helps me go into Satellite Warrior during my opponent's turn, and you contribute the copy of Needle Fiber off to go into this card really easily if you don't end up going into Appaloosa, because there's a lot of different ways to actually go around this combo. Galleon Granite, because I can add any rock monster from my deck to my hand. Abyss Dweller, just to shut graveyards down. 1 copy of Appaloosa, just in case I need to stop my opponent's stuff, and usually you'll end on an Appaloosa, normally. 1 copy of Unicorn, because Unicorn just bounces stuff and you just don't want to deal with. And a single copy of Needle Fiber, because it makes the deck work. I mean, it doesn't make the deck work, but it makes the deck combo a little bit easier. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really neat deck. Yes, it is a tier probably 0.5 deck right now, maybe tier 0. I mean, I don't think it's tier 0 because Edledge is around. But depending on what they do on the next list, depends on what this deck is even going to do. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely tell me what you think of this deck down in the comments down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to check out the Patreon. See you later, guys.